I had known nothing about this at this point. I never knew about the Vancouver Sun. I never knew about Jeremy. I didn't know any of it.
Google his name. Once you've Googled his name, you see he's a journalist, and you get to read his report, what he has done about CRA.
I had my phone and I had my, so I had internet access. So I did. I looked it up. I read the article. I listened to the interview. And I definitely shared his concern.
Yeah, I'm just doing a job. I get paid for this, and I'm doing a job.
Okay.
I then took it upon myself to try to do everything I could to make sure that anything that I could do was done to keep him safe. So the first thing, again, reaching out to the Toronto Police. Toronto Police put me in touch with the OPP, the Ontario Provincial Police, who then put me in touch with the RCMP. And that was all trying to get up the chain to say, hey, listen, I've got a guy, he's in India, I think he's in harm's way. This is what just happened. Something is wrong, he's in hiding. What can be done, if anything? I assumed they had boots on the ground or they had somebody over there. But I was naive into thinking that, they were prepared to do something. Because the message, that I got back from them in a short period of time quite simply was, they're just not interested. It's there's nothing that they could do. They instructed us to just have him contact the local authorities and report it to the police if he feels threatened. Which, that was beyond laughable. That was just ludicrous. That was an insult to my intelligence that they thought that they could just pass that off to me and that was something that I would accept. It was ridiculous. So what I did to help mitigate this was I reached out to the author, this Jeremy Noodle guy. I've researched him on the internet, found his email, sent out an email, and explained to him the situation.
I got an email from a private investigator, and he basically, I think it started with, I see you've met our friend. And it was an email that it went all through apparently what had happened to him. At first, I was really reticent to take it seriously.
I trust that he was probably a little bit skeptical. So I followed up with the contacts that I had established with the OPP and the Toronto Police, which helped corroborate the story as to what I was telling him, that this was in fact somebody that was working on the inside with us to help save some people.
And it checked out. And he went through everything with me even more. And it was quite shocking.
As a result of that, he immediately came back and said that he was going to reach out to his editors and have the story pulled, at least have the audio pulled, because that's what we were mainly concerned, because he has a very distinctive voice, very distinctive accent.
Well, I never ever thought about pulling the story. We did talk about remuffling the sound, etc., and that just it seemed to fall through the cracks at some point. And that was about it. It was genuinely a situation of concern for what could be happening in India. But at the same time, we don't just pull stories down and things like that because somebody complains about it, right?
I was very angry. I was very disappointed, and I guess angry is the best word for it, because I looked at what history I had with Casey, and I was looking at his demeanor and all what he's trying to do, and it's never ever come across as anything other than wanting to help. And when I listened to the interview with Jeremy,
What do you mean?
I could sense that. I got the same message. I got the exact same message that Jeremy got. I just took it in a different direction. I took that as an opportunity to work with Casey to help protect and stop some of these scams. Obviously, we're not going to stop everybody, but if we could stop one, that's one worth it.
So right now, I'm sorry, but I don't trust nobody, mate. After what has been, please understand my situation. I don't trust anybody right now, mate. My life is in fucking danger.
As part of being a journalist is these things happen where You write stories, and sometimes there's repercussions for people in those stories, and it's not something that you gleefully watch or something that you like, and you try to mitigate them as best you can. And in this situation, it was a case where I think that there wasn't a good understanding on my part, the kind of people who were running this thing, and had we known that at the time, I think that it would have approached it with more caution. But yeah, essentially, yeah, it definitely wasn't I was worried about him. So yeah.
Over a short period of time, within the matter of, I think, a couple of days, the audio was in fact pulled, but it really wasn't necessarily pulled. It was just taken away from general public access. You could still get access to it by paying a subscription, but at that time, I believed that the audio file was no longer accessible to the public. So I then reached out to him to try to share the news with him that we managed to get the audio taken down, which should be good news for him. And that was, for the most part, that was the last time I heard from him for the duration of the vacation. And that was in the first part of December. And I went through the entire holidays not having any communication with him whatsoever. I had 100% felt contributory to an unnatural ending to the story. I thought he was dead. So it was after the holidays. It was around the first part of January. I get a text message on WhatsApp out of the blue on a number that I don't recognize. And when I answer it, the message, it just said, "Hey, what's up?" And then I said, "Hey, who's this?" And then I got an audio message.
Hello, stranger. Long time no speak. It's your long lost friend from India, Casey Hunter. How are you? I finally got access to an internet phone. I finally managed to get on the internet and get your number out. And I thought I'd give you a message and see how you are. Anyway, I look forward to your reply. Have a good day.
After he had spoken to me while I was on vacation, saying that everything was messed up and that his life was in danger, what ended up happening was that day, he said that a knock came on his door. And when he went to the door, there was two people there that said that they were there to pick him up because his former employer wanted to talk to him. He said he knew right away what it was about because he had mentioned, that, I guess in the article, there had made some references to that company. So they took him along with his laptop and his mobile phone, and they brought him down and put him in the car. And he had indicated to me that they had locked him into the trunk of the car. And this was as a kind of an intimidation factor. They drove him to an abandoned building where he met with his employer, his former employer. And they were all asking him about the article that was in the paper. So this had nothing to do with anything that I was doing with him, but it was all surrounding the article and what was said in the article. And they wanted to know why and when was it done and what else was said. They felt that they didn't get the entire truth from the article, and that he had additional information that they were looking to find out. Just, what is the depth of how far did he leak information to? So what had happened was they forced him to unlock his phone, and they forced him to unlock his laptop, and then to log into his email account. They then took him, dragged him out of the building, they roughed him up a bit, and then threw him out in the parking lot. So at that particular point, he had no way of getting in touch with me. He had no money, he had no phone, he had no computer, he had no internet access. There was just no way for him to reach out to me. So he managed to locate somebody who was a friend of his, who he borrowed their phone, and then he had sent the message through to me. So he just basically wanted me to know that he was safe, he was okay, and that he was currently looking for employment, and that as soon as he got another job, he would have a phone, and then he'd be able to communicate back with me.
So he reaches out to you and he says that he's got a new job. Is this another scam job?
Yep, they've always been scam jobs. He's never had anything but a scam job.
CRA scam?
Yep. It's so again, like they do CRA and then they do the Australian one, and I think he had another one for maybe a day or two that he quit.
The callers claimed to be from the tax office and threatened jail if you don't pay up.
This new scam has tricked consumers out of $19 million in the past year.
This call is regarding to your social security number.
You know, you go to your position of comfort, you go to what you know, you go to where your talent is most needed. He fit in with this position. Number one, he was familiar with it. Number two, he had a reasonable command of the English language. And three, he was good at it. And because of those things, he had that skill that made him attractive to these organizations, and it was just an easy fit for him to get in there. So I wasn't really surprised that he was heading in that direction. I had already, resolved my feelings to the fact that he was never going to get anything else other than that. I remember one afternoon that I had gotten a message from him. He said, "Call this gentleman, call him right away. He's about to lose his entire life savings."
58759.
So I called and eventually got through to this elderly gentleman, and I said that I was a fraud investigator, and I was asked him if he was on the phone with somebody, and he said, "Is this Devin?" And I was kind of curious. I didn't know how he would know it was me. So I said yes, and out of incredible curiosity, "How did you know this was me?" And he said, "Because the RCMP officer told me to expect a call from Devin." I thought that was kind of bizarre. I later learned that Casey had been assigned to the RCMP phase of the scam. So he would have gotten the call transferred to him. He would have played the role of an RCMP officer. He could tell that this elderly couple was quite distraught. He said he could hear his wife crying in the background. And just before he hung up the call or transferred the call back to the original scammers, he felt so bad he just told the man to expect a call from Devin. And then that's when he reached out to me and said, "Hey, save this guy, save this guy." So anyway, following through, I talked to him and told him, and again, I could hear the wife distraught in the background, and he'd asked me to please talk to her. And then she came to the phone, and I spent a good 10 or 15 minutes on the phone reassuring her that Revenue Canada was not after her, and that there was no RCMP, and this was all just a big scam. But what happened shortly thereafter was the most disturbing. Was the very next day I got a voice message from Casey, incredibly distraught.
"Today I'm sitting on the street drunk, and you have not even asked me what's happened, man. Why you quit your job, man? You want to be my mate? I had a fight with my girlfriend, everything, and I fucked up, man. I fucked up hard, man. I got no one to talk to, man. You didn't even message me back. This is a hard life is here, man. Nobody understands."
It sounds like this job is really starting to wear on him. He couldn't take the stress and the anguish that that it was bringing him.
Sometimes it feels just to get drunk and just jump off some building. There's so many buildings here. It's so easy to just get on top of them and just jump off, man. This is just bullshit. Life is so shit right now. It's shit job. It's just shit. Everything is just shit right now.
There was, I was helpless. There was really nothing that I could do other than to be a voice or to be a sympathetic ear to listen to him. But he did explain that his life was just meaningless to him. It was gone to shit, and he just didn't see a purpose of going any further. He didn't see any opportunity to get out of the situation that he's in, and he just wanted it over.
So you might have heard of these get-rich-quick scams that are popping up all over Facebook and Instagram. So eventually, I am just this YouTuber. I make scam videos. I try to talk about how scams work. I try to get to know people behind the scams. But I think that's what led to me getting this email from a guy named Casey Hunter. And he says that he lives in India, and he says that he's a scammer, and he wants to talk.
Hello, Ben. How are you? You're a person to get very hard hold of. Anyway, well, I'm a scammer from India, and apparently I've been watching your videos, and you've been offering scammers jobs and helping them to stop, and maybe you can help me somehow, some way. Obviously, I gotta bring something to the table before you help me. I understand that, but let's see what you have to reply to this about first.
I had no idea that he had gone this route, and it certainly wasn't anything that I had thought of. He had come to me at one point and said, hey, there's a number of people out on the internet doing videos about these. I didn't know that, and I didn't research any of that.
I gotta say, I love the videos, the very good videos you have on YouTube. Keep up the good work, man. That is good.
He told me about these crazy stories about how him and you were saving these people.
I used to do this with my friend from Canada who I met through calling. I used to give him the phone number, and he would ring the customer and tell them it's a scam and to hang up. We saved a few people. I say at least 30 people from thousands of dollars, but no one was interested in our story, that how we were saving people, and really nothing came of it.
The fact that he got you involved, and the fact that you were able to put a story out there, I think was able to, that he could then lean on those stories, and he could then attribute those stories to his contribution to life and society, and be able to say, hey, look, I'm somebody because I'm here. This is validating my existence. This is validating that I'm a good person. So I think there was a lot of that at play. To some degree, I think, we all look for that affirmation that we're good people, and that we're doing good things, and that we're making a difference in the world.
No one must know who I am. That's it. That is the main thing. No one must know who I am. This must stay between the three of us.
We have an idea here. We have a story. We have a story that could be told. We have an incredible story that could be told. But there's a huge risk. There's a huge risk that we further expose him. We put him in harm's way, and we contribute to gross bodily harm, if not death.